Architectural Review Board. Before we get started, welcome to Tom Midkiff, our 7th ARB board member. Ms. McDonald, will you please call the roll?
Tom Midkiff.
Here.
Jennifer Oberlin.
Here.
Patty Cross.
Here.
Nicole Conkle.
Here.
Mr. Breek. Kevin Breek.
Here.
Miss Sams.
Yeah.
And Miss Johnson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Members, have you had a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting? Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Ms. McDonald, will you call the roll?
Oh, you're not going to do it all in favor.
Oh, sorry, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, one of our applicants this evening, Mr. Snyder, I believe, serves on another board for the city and needs to have their application for the design review moved up from the normal place in our agenda. So if you would please, Ms. McDonald, read the first review item for 515 Logan Street.
In accordance with Articles 4 and 17 of the City of Frankfort zoning ordinance, John and Martha Snyder are requesting a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing front door and storm door, the existing north elevation entry door, the existing rear entry door, and the existing second-story window on the rear enclosed porch addition at the property located at 515 Logan Street. The property is more particularly identified as PVA map number 062-32-05-0011.00.
Ms. Berenberg.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vicki Berenberg, Historic Preservation Officer. The first application we're going to review tonight is located at 515 Logan Street. Can you all hear me?
Could we turn
Okay.
one of the TVs?
Facing us a little more,
Could we do,
please.
I'm sorry.
Just
Either
they're both angled.
Oh, you can't see that. Okay.
Which one's better for you? This one's the angle of it, right, so they can see it.
This one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Awesome.
How's that? All
Thank you.
right. Woo. Okay, so the first application is at 515 Logan Street. This is a 1920s craftsman-style bungalow. It is contributing to the South Frankfort Neighborhood National Register District. And the proposal is to replace the 3 doors, the front door, the north elevation door, and the rear entry door, with fiberglass doors. Currently, there are 2 wood doors and 1 metal door. And also to replace 10 windows at the rear of the property, which are currently wood, with vinyl. And this application is partially compatible with the South Special Capital Design Guidelines. Here is a map from the PVA website showing the location of the property, and it's right here, and you can see these 2 outbuildings towards the rear. This is an image from the 1925 Sanborn fire insurance maps. It shows the property right here. You can see the existing front porch, also a rear porch, which was later modified, and we'll see that with the photographs. This is the proposal for the front door replacement. The existing front door is shown here on the left. It's a wood front door covered with an aluminum storm door, and the proposal is to replace it with this architecturally appropriate craftsman style door that is, it has a fiberglass exterior that has the visual representation of wood. There is a slight design change. The existing door has 6 lights at the top, and the proposed door has 3, but they're both completely architecturally compatible with the style of the house. I included this information in your packet. It's from the manufacturer of the door. It shows a little bit about the construction. You can see that it is a combination of wood and fiberglass, and then an insulating material in the center. The second door they are proposing for replacement is on the north side of the house. It's located right here. And here is an up-close visual of it. It's a steel door. Probably dates to the mid-century, I would say 60s, 70s. The architectural style is from that era, not from the era of this house. So it's not really adding anything architectural. And they propose to replace it with an architecturally compatible door in the same style as the front door. It will be composed of fiberglass. It will not have a glass panel at the top, though. It'll just have a plain recessed panel, so you can't see in. And then the final door they're proposing to replace is at the rear, right here. You can see this is that section on the Sanborn map of the rear porch that was enclosed. We have permit records from 1967 that documents that application to enclose the porch and turn that into a bathroom utility room. And they extended it a little bit here on the north side. So the door probably dates to that era. It is a wood door. It has 9 lights over 2 panels with a storm door. And they are proposing to replace it with this design right here, which is compatible with many different architectural styles from the early part of the 20th century. And this door was approved for use on the outbuildings at the rear of the property in 2019. And that's what this photo is taken from. So back to the rear here. The proposal also includes the removal of these 6 windows at the back. You can't see them very well, but they are 6/1 design. They are not historic. We don't have documentation about when this addition was built. It could have happened during 1967 when the rest of this part was rehabbed. It could have happened at another time. We don't really know. It is not included on the Sanborn map. These particular windows are wood, and they're proposing to replace them with 1/1 design, which is an approvable condition according to the Special Capital Design Guidelines. But they wish to change the material to vinyl. And it will also include the 2 windows on this side of the upper story and the 2 windows on the north side of the upper story. And just to give you an idea of, here's the cut sheet for the product they are planning to, or proposing to use for the replacement. These are insert windows. They have a pretty low profile. And these photos will give you an idea of visibility from the public right-of-way. If you're standing on the sidewalk, we're talking about these 2 windows back here, not extremely visible. These 2 windows back here, not extremely visible. And then from Stanley Street, which is the alley behind the property, that's the visibility. So these are staff's suggested findings of fact for this application. The house is currently covered with vinyl siding, and it will be resided with new vinyl. The designs for the 3 proposed doors are compatible with the historic designs for 1920s craftsman bungalow architecture. The rear of the structure was remodeled in 1967. It did already have replacement siding on the house at that time. The windows proposed for replacement are not historic, and the rear windows and entry are minimally visible from a public right-of-way. And if the board elects to issue a certificate of appropriateness for this application, staff recommends the following conditions be applied. Number one, any deviation from the approved door designs shall be submitted to staff for approval. Number two, the existing open building permit shall be amended to reflect the work approved in this request. And number three, any additional projects requiring a building permit shall require review. Any additional projects requiring a building permit shall require review and approval by the ARB unless a certificate of no exterior effect is issued. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So we're just talking about the upper windows.
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for staff? I have a couple, please. You mentioned a couple of times that sorry, bear with me, about the windows, particularly the ones in the back.
Okay.
That they're acceptable under the special capital guidelines. So, I was looking at the ordinance 5 for Windows C. When replacement windows are used, they shall match the original in size, shape, and design. So if these are gonna be different design, would that not suggest they don't meet this particular guideline?
As you know, there's a lot of language in the design guidelines that appears to conflict, and the way staff tends to view these is if we're talking about a non-historic window, which these windows are not original to the primary structure.
Okay. And I had one more. You mentioned that your line item number 1 on the staff suggestions, mentioned the vinyl siding. Are we reviewing vinyl siding today, or is that staff approved?
No, the staff has approved the application submitted for vinyl siding. That application, there has been a request to change it, and so they resubmitted a new COA application, and you will review that at the October meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Oops, sorry.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Mhm.
Would the applicant like to come forward and speak?
I think you guys have it covered.
Do you have any questions?
If you could step to the microphone, please, just for the record. And state your name and address, please.
Yes, ma'am. John Snyder, 515 Logan Street.
Okay. Have you read the staff report, and are you in agreement with all the recommendations?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else you want us to know?
No. I mean, like she said, we'll be back. We're gonna have to make a change on the vinyl because of some contractor issues or manufacturing issues, but we'll be back. But
Okay. Are there any questions from the board for the applicant? Were there citizen comments on this submission?
We did receive one citizen comment from neighbors at 513 Logan Street in support of the application.
Thank you. Is there anybody here tonight that would like to speak about this application? Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
thank you.
Any discussion points that a board member would like to bring up? Do we have a motion then?
Madam Chair,
Please, Ms. Cross.
I would move that based on the findings of fact submitted by staff on page 4 of their report, that we approve the request for a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing front door and storm door, the existing north elevation entry door, the existing rear entry door, and the existing second-story windows on the rear enclosed porch addition at the property located at 515 Logan Street. and that we, include the 3 conditions as recommended by staff also on page 4.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Midkiff,
Yes.
Ms. Oberlin,
Yes.
Ms. Cross,
Yes.
Ms. Conkle,
Yes.
Mr. Breek,
Yes.
Ms. Samms,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your investment in Frankfurt.
No problem, thank you.
Ms. McDonald, the next review item, please.
In accordance with Articles 4, 16, and 17 of the City of Frankfurt zoning ordinance, Ishmael Valeriz requests a certificate of appropriateness to construct a concrete patio covered by wood canopy and metal roof, install a handicap accessible ramp, steel railings, and steps in conjunction with the patio, relocate mechanical equipment, and replace an existing rear window with new custom wood and glass doors at the property located at 334 St. Clair Street. The property is more particularly defined as PVA map number 061-24-10-016.00.
Okay. So, this property is located downtown in the central business zoning district, so those design guidelines apply. This building is a contributing resource to 2 national register districts, including the Frankfurt Commercial Historic District, which was listed in 1979, I believe, and also the Central Frankfurt Historic District, which was listed in 2009. This building is actually the southernmost building that's part of a 4-building composition. It was designed by Henry Ringgold at the turn of the century. There was a devastating fire on that block in the 1890s, and Mr. Ringgold rebuilt in that location using the Romanesque revival style of architecture. And we know from the Sanborn maps that it was built between 1901 and 1907. So the proposal here is taking place at the rear of the property completely. The front isn't going to be affected at all. It is to construct a rear patio with a canopy overhead. It'll include a handicap accessible ramp and railings. The proposal also is to remove 2 non-historic windows at the rear of the property and adjust the opening to accommodate some custom doors that will allow access to the new patio. And they will also be adjusting the location of the mechanical equipment to accommodate all of this. So we have reviewed the proposal. We do find it compatible with the design guidelines. Here's an image from the 1901 Sanborn map. You can see here that it says that it's drawn from plans, so the buildings are not yet complete. This is 1907. Here's the building right here, and it's being utilized for hardware and paint. And in fact, it was the location of the C.E. Collins hardware store between 1907 and 1960. So it was there for a very long time. And here's that porch at the rear of the property that you're gonna see in one of my early photos. We got these photographs from the museum. This is at the turn of the century, obviously, when it's a hardware store. Here's an early photograph of the entire composition, which is pretty dramatic. You can see some of the elements have been lost over time. The PVA map was a little wonky. You might have noticed that from looking in the staff report. Tried to fix that with a Google Maps rendering that shows actually the general idea of the lot lines here. The patio and canopy we're talking about is just going here at this location. And here's a picture of the rear elevation. You can see this area right here that's covered with stones and grass. It's very uneven. This is the area they're talking about using for the construction. The handicap ramp will line up with this door right here. These are the non-historic windows that are proposed for removal. So the sills that are here will come down and be used for the thresholds on the door. This mechanical equipment will be kind of stacked, I believe, readjusted. There'll be some changes made to the vent here to accommodate the doors. And here is the architectural drawing that shows the canopy in place. And here is a side view looking north. So this is south elevation view. Here's the building. Here's the ramp, cross section. And I've included some photos just to give you a general idea of what's going on here at the rear of these properties. This is generally a service area. It accommodates things like garbage cans and parking and that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of that visually. Looking directly west of the proposed patio, this is the rear of the Foundry building, which has its entrance on Broadway. This is looking sort of southeast. There's a little grassy area. Here's the property, whoops, here's the property, this is next door. If you turn around, this is the view in the other direction towards Catfish Alley. This is a garage that's back there. And if you're standing in Catfish Alley, which is the public right-of-way, this is pretty much the only right-of-way view, you'll be able to probably just see the very top of the canopy from here. Every time I've been by there have been cars parked here, which kind of obscure things. So staff has put together this list of suggested facts for this particular case. The windows that are proposed for removal are not original. The original stone sills will be repurposed for the new doors. The proposed patio and canopy are accessory features to the buildings, and this canopy will not be attached to the building in any way or impact it physically. And the patio will comply with ADA requirements. And if the board elects to issue a certificate of appropriateness for this application, staff suggests approval with the following conditions. Number one, the wood canopy will have a painted or stained finish, and that will be reviewed and approved by staff. Number two, landscaping plans in conjunction with the patio will be reviewed and approved by staff. Number three, a building permit shall be applied for and issued to reflect the work approved in this request. And number four, any additional projects requiring a building permit shall require review and approval by the ARB unless a certificate of no exterior effect is issued. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Anyone? Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask you?
Sure.
Vicki, on the stone that's in the back, is that hand laid, and do you have any idea how long that has been there? Where it came from?
We do not know.
Okay. And it
Unfortunately,
will be covered with concrete, is that correct?
I'm imagining they'll remove it before they put it on.
Dig it all out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing to suggest that that's a necessarily historic condition, and there's no documentation on it of any historic maps or anything. There's no mention of it in the National Register nomination, so.
Okay, thank you.
I believe it was part of a previous patio. There was one back there when it was Kelly's Garden. And I think actually they took it out because it was fairly overgrown. And I have a feeling it wasn't very old.
Okay.
Because the wood construction of the patio and pergola were not very old.
Thank you.
That would make sense. If you noticed when I showed you the early Sanborn map, whoops. Okay, well, we'll try it this way. this one. Right here it is. Well, yeah, if it was a hardware store, I don't know,
Yeah.
you know? And then there was a bakery next door, but it's far enough over that, yeah, I don't think it's a historic condition.
That was just an awful lot of random rock that it was right there.
Would the applicant or representative of the applicant please come up and state your name and address for the record?
I'm Jeff Rain. I live at 121 East Campbell Street. I'm Ishmael Varela's architect.
Have you
Um,
read, sorry.
Go ahead.
Have you read the staff report and are you in agreement with the staff
Yes, I have.
suggestions? Do you have anything else in particular you'd like to share with us?
Well, can you get the rear picture of the,
Let's see if I can do.
I do it for every time.
You wanted the photograph or the
Yeah,
rendering?
that one.
That one?
I actually showed the doors that we're putting in place going all the way up to the brick arch. And looking at it in this photograph, the exhaust vent is gonna preclude that. So I would say the doors are actually gonna go as high as the windows are now, rather than the way I've shown them on my drawing. I don't know what else we can do with that vent.
So, would that mean that the patio, the cover would go above it or
No.
below it?
It'd be, the patio roof would remain the same. And there's a 7-foot gap between
Oh,
the
okay.
rear of the building, and, yeah, won't be any conflict, it's just, I hadn't noticed sketching and whatnot, that vent was that low in that opening,
Probably about
so,
6 inches.
yeah, the doors will be like, yeah, the doors will be like 8 feet instead of 10 feet, yeah.
So there won't be any change to the size or shape of the brick?
No.
And the arches will
No.
remain though? Are there any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Were there citizen comments on this application?
We did not receive any.
And I guess nobody would like to speak. Any discussion points to be raised by the board? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Oh, I can make one.
Yes, please, Ms. Cross.
I'll make up for lost time. Can you hear me doing it this way? Can you hear me?
It's better.
Oh. Okay. I would move that based on the, 3 findings that staff provided on page 4, that where'd I put it? That we approve the request for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a concrete patio covered by a wood canopy and metal roof, install the installation of a handicap accessible ramp, steel railings, and steps in conjunction with said patio, the relocation of mechanical equipment and replacement of an existing rear window with new custom wood and glass doors at the property located at 334 St. Clair Street, including the 4 suggestions from staff for the conditions, also on page 4 of staff's report.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is that Mr. Brink?
Yes.
Sorry, with all these masks, I can't see him.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Midkiff?
Yes.
Ms. Oberlin?
Yes.
Ms. Cross?
Yes.
Ms. Conkle?
Yes.
Mr. Brink?
Yes.
Ms. Sands?
Yes.
And Ms. Johnson? Motion carries.
Thank you. Would you please relay our thanks for investment to your client, please? Yes. I was just asking you to relay our thanks to your
Oh, to
client.
Ishmael?
Yes,
So,
thank you. So, would staff like to read the administratively approved items for this month?
We had a lot of administrative approvals. In the Central Business District, 336 St. Clair Street, interior fit up. 328 St. Clair Street, 24-inch diameter projecting sign. In the Special Capital District, 325 Ewing Street, re-roof with in-kind materials. 314 West 3rd Street, repair broken panes on west elevation of a window. 313 Conway, porch roof repaired in kind, no change in design. Exterior window trim has been restored to resemble the original design. That property is still executing a couple of other things that have been administratively approved but not finished, including installing half-round gutters and also installing the shutter door that was approved as part of the COA application when it came before you in July, I believe. 412 Logan Street, new hardy board siding, 1/1 vinyl window approved to replace previous vinyl, K-style gutters to replace existing K-style. Let's see, oh, and there were a couple of vinyl windows installed that were not the same design, and those have been removed. We are also working with this applicant to remove a front door that was replaced, and is not an appropriate design, so he's agreed to remove it. 314 East 2nd Street, restoring original windows and front door, new siding to match profile of original. 221 Murray, new siding to match existing, new gutters to match existing. There was an inappropriately sized window that was installed on the front. The window opening was altered. He has removed that window and reverted back to the original opening and put a new window in. 316 to 320 Capitol Avenue, new white aluminum storm window for the window in the front dormer. Also the replacement of the garage door. 415 Shelby Street, there was rebuilding a portion of the masonry front porch in kind using existing materials, same design and historic mortar. New miscellaneous repointing was done on the house as needed, including the front chimney. 515 Logan Street, that was the vinyl siding replacement that we administratively approved. That's coming back, however, you will see that next month. 518 Logan Street, 20-foot by 16-foot deck, not attached. 425 Logan Street, re-roof with in-kind materials. 402 West 4th Street, removal and replacement of 2-foot retaining wall. 523 Quarles Court, re-roof with in-kind materials. And 7 Lions Court, 6-foot privacy fence in the rear of the property. In the Special Historic District, 108 Watson Court, window restoration. And Liberty Hall at 218 Wilkinson, modifications to existing gutters and downspouts.
You guys have been busy, thank you. Well, the Cherish Report is much shorter this month. I have to get a plug in here because September is Kentucky Archaeology Month. So if anybody's interested in learning more about archaeology, there's a video on Frankfurt's cultural resources and archaeology on the city's historic preservation webpage. I spoke with the State Journal reporter regarding economic development in South Frankfurt and what might be expected from new design guidelines. Several of our board members attended the Bob Yap Historic Preservation Workshop hosted by the city. And I met with the Kentucky Area Chamber of Commerce, a couple of members, to learn a little about each other's and our board's missions. Does anybody else have anything else for tonight? We would like to wish city staff member Jordan Miller happy birthday. Do we have?
I would rather be nowhere else.
Naturally.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night.
Nobody.
Yep, yep.